Welcome to my stream. Quick disclaimer while we wait for everyone to get here. I am not a medical professional. Nothing I say is intended as health advice. Any major changes made to your diet or any other aspect of your lifestyle is something to check with a doctor with before enacting in your own life. Furthermore, I'm not a financial advisor, and nothing I say is a recommendation for investment. I'm also a law-abiding citizen. Nothing I say is an admission of guilt. And lastly, but not leastly, all opinions are my own and are in no way, shape, or form a reflection of the opinions of Google, YouTube, or any other network you may be viewing this on in the future. That being said, welcome to our Sunday stream. Noi, thank you so much for being the first one here. I appreciate you. Good morning. Hopefully this will be a good stream. My morning is going a little bit sideways, but we're making things happen. Sam just got into the cacao, so hopefully that's going to work out. It wasn't a lot, but definitely disturbing nonetheless. How is your morning going? I'm a little tired today, to be honest. Last night's stream wore me out kind of a lot. And it's like day 4 without any coffee, so definitely feeling a little tired. I spilled some of my cacao a minute ago, and Sam decided to rush over and start licking it up, so I'm not sure how much of an emergency that is, but it's definitely not something I'm super happy about. But yeah, anyways, hopefully we're gonna have a good stream right now. But we'll see. Seems like it's getting started a little slow, so we'll see what happens. What are you up to today? How's your morning go, or how's your evening, I should say? Yeah, I think people will show up eventually. We'll have to give them some time. We got off track, I think, when we missed last week, or is it 2 weeks? How many weeks did we miss? Just the one? Maybe 2. I feel like people fall out of the habit pretty quick. But as you're aware, it was a lot going on in the last week, so it's just not in the cards to 2 weeks. Oh no. Well, we'll see what happens. Sometimes I wonder how, yeah, I don't know where we're going with this thing. How's the weather? It's quite hot. It's been nice the last couple days. But it's hot and humid. It's pretty much, always like that. I really honestly enjoy the rain, if I'm being completely real. It rains a lot here. It hasn't been, I guess, yesterday and today and tomorrow are all supposed to be sunny, but after that it's supposed to get back to the rain. Right now is the shoulder season, so it's like right on the edge in between the dry season and the wet season. But I quite like the rain. I mean, it doesn't really get cold here, so like I lived in well, I don't know, I guess I lived there. I lived in Oregon for a little while, and it was kind of similar in the sense it rained all the time for most of the year, but it was cold. Cold and wet's no fun, but warm and wet is pretty good. Okay, here we go. We got our first chatter. Um, it's me says, brother, can you please share your daily schedule, like what to eat, what exercises you do, what we'll drink, and explain about meditation in YouTube is enough to do meditation, brother. Well, right now I'm kind of readapting because I'm in a new place and I have different resources than I usually have. But let's see, like so far today, all I've had is some cacao, and thank you so much, Noi, for the gift. I appreciate you. Um, I just woke up. I'm drinking this cacao. I'm probably gonna not make a habit out of doing this, though. This is just like a special treat because I'm looking for kind of a substitute to wake me up to stream right now because I'm not drinking coffee or anything. But like yesterday, I um, I I had a mango in the morning, and then in the evening I had um, some chickpeas with they were with I put some pineapple and some chiles in there, some olive oil, uh, sea salt. Um, I I usually don't spread out my meals that much, though. I usually just you know eat a couple meals within like I don't know, like a 3 hour window or so. Um, as far as solid food, and just for the rest of the day, I just drink like ginger tea, or sometimes I have milk um, if I can find a natural one. As far as exercise, I mean, it really depends. Like, mostly just do like body weight stuff, push-ups, pull-ups. Um, some kind of, I stretch a lot. Do some kriyas. Um, and I avoid basically like all types of grains. No rice, no wheat, no bread, nothing like that. Um, the only thing I really eat that has like a good amount of carbs is like beans and stuff, beans, lentils, stuff like that. I guess I have fruit as well. I guess that has a lot of carbs, but I normally don't really actually. Um, Usually, if I eat fruit, I just eat it alone. I don't really eat anything else with it. Um, when I eat like beans and stuff, I'll add some things to it, but when I eat fruit, I just kind of let the fruit be the whole meal. Trying to think. A lot of my exercise comes from sex, but I don't allow myself to release. So it doesn't turn out to be a drain on me. I find that if I release, that it wears me out quite rapidly, and even to the point that I could feel it like the next day or something. So I like to use that as a form of exercise. Definitely like to swim. I haven't been doing it much lately, but swimming in the ocean is really good as far as exercise goes. Let's see. That's pretty much it. I'm on a vegetarian diet. Sometimes I have eggs as well. But when I eat eggs, I mostly just eat the yolks. And I try not to add anything to them except for like salt or um, some like maybe some pepper or whatever. Oh, it's Mother's Day. I have to call my mom. Happy Mother's Day to all the moms out there. Congratulations. Let's see. Hope that answers your question. It's me. Oh, my sister just texted me. She's a mom too. I gotta do that. Let's see. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Sorry guys, I accidentally exited the stream for a second, but it's really nice how YouTube lets you like come right back in. Yeah, happy Mother's Day, you guys. I live in Costa Rica, pretty kitty. What is the greatest piece of wisdom ever passed on to me? Mm, greatest piece of wisdom ever passed on to me. I would say it's probably a piece of wisdom that came from my grandmother. And she said, if you don't have nothing nice to say, don't say nothing at all. It's probably the greatest piece of wisdom ever passed on to me. I haven't always listened to that, but it's definitely a good practice. My dad used to always say too, like something about not swimming upriver, and I find that also to be a good piece of advice. Just go with the flow. David Rodriguez says, hello Bruce, have you ever thought about writing and publishing an autobiography about your life? I honestly feel like it would be very successful. Well, I will tell you a really interesting story. This is actually going to turn out to be um, a better comment than maybe even you realize. Because of the story that's about to follow. Let me take a sip of this cacao before I get into it. So, if you want to know how I became who I became and what I became, it all traces back to, I would say, well, we could say in 2005. So in 2005, I got in some trouble. And I was, basically, I went to prison. And while I was there, um, I didn't start writing until about 2007. But when I got there, I had which was, I started off in 2005. Um, there's not much to do in there. So, of course, we're all always just telling stories. And, I was from kind of a upper class suburban area, but I was kind of a hard-headed kid that used to get into a lot of fights, right? And so I had tons of war stories, all kinds of stories about brawling and doing all kinds of crazy stuff because it was I was born in the 80s, grew up in the 90s, early 2000s. It was like a different era where you could get away with a lot more stuff, right? So we used to do a lot of crazy things. And so I kind of had like a really, I want to say, I would just say that I was welcomed when I got there, right? Not in a bad way, but in like a positive way. Like, I kind of, it was a place that I was good at being there because I had the type of mentality that excels in a situation like that. And so people always love my stories. And that made me kind of a popular guy in there, right? And so in 2007, well, let me back up a little bit. So one way that I used to pass a lot of time is that I used to read fantasy fiction novels, like, big ones, you know, like The Wheel of Time and the Sword of Truth, the Song of Fire and Ice, like all these big, like, epic Odyssey novels, the Rift War Saga. I loved all those books, right? I read the Game of Thrones. I guess that's the Song of Fire and Ice. I mentioned that, but I was reading the Game of Thrones back before the fourth book was even written, you know, um, long before there was ever even the thought of a television show. And, I was super into it. It helped me pass a lot of time. But one thing I didn't like was that I always felt like most of them were really watered down. Obviously, the Game of Thrones is a bit more hardcore than most of them, but that was a big piece of inspiration for me to. I wanted to write my own. I wanted to write like a fantasy fiction novel that really was like hardcore, gave no fucks, right? And something with like a little bit more of a mirror to like real life. So I was also a bit influenced by like the Dark Tower series by Stephen King. Not that I really much care for Stephen King anymore, but the Dark Tower was a pretty good series. I liked how it kind of fused modern times with like old times, like, and that you really couldn't tell. You couldn't like date it to an era, right? It was kind of like just like an alternate universe where things had developed differently, right? And so I decided at some point in 2007 that I would write my own novel, right, or my own series. And so I spent like 2 years writing that book, the first book to my series. And, you know, I let a few people read it. Everyone that read it was like, this is the best thing I ever read. It's so awesome. Like, on the other, and I remember talking to this guy, Dave, one day. I was like, you know, and, and you know, telling him that about how when I got out that I was going to live my whole life for the story, right? Because I realized when I was in there that I had like a talent for writing, right? And I also realized that I already had such an, even at, you know, in my early 20s, I already had this story that people just loved, right? Even like, I'm talking like I was in Pelican Bay, you know, like had people that had lived crazy lives, people doing life in prison, you know, that still just loved my stories, you know, kid from the suburbs that liked to fight. And I was like, you know, all I'm missing is a happy ending. So my plan was, okay, I would get out, I would live every decision for the book, whatever was most interesting, not what was most smart, right? But somehow I planned on making 1 million by 30, and that would be the happy ending that I needed, and I would write my life story, and that would be my my retirement, that I would retire by 30 by writing this life story, right? And the name of the uh, philosophy that I had come up with at the time was life equity. This is back before YouTube and, you know, all that stuff. So I was still thinking that like a book was the way to go, you know, and just write a book about your life story. And then all of a sudden, all the time in prison, all the other stuff, it becomes worth something. You know, the whole theory was that your life experiences are worth something if you tell the story, right? Um, so it was kind of like my plan for like reclaiming the lost time, that I would um, that I would just reclaim the value for all those years by telling the story, right? I remember I got back together with like my ex-girlfriend when I got out, and I remember she was like, well, what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? I was like, don't worry about it. Like, I got this. Like, it's all gonna be good. It's like the story's worth the money. And so obviously I also had the plan to go into the adult industry, and that all kind of went off without a hitch and blew up super fast. And then a lot of the parts that people don't know is like I was, because I didn't advertise because I didn't want to make myself a target, but I was a professional gambler for a long time as well. So, you know, I would have never expected that would have eventually gone into the stock market and the futures market, and then eventually um, that I would somehow randomly gain enlightenment one day, right? Um, so, anyways, uh, not only have I considered that writing an autobiography, I actually planned my entire life around it since I was like 21 years old. So for the last 19 years, I have made every decision in my life not based upon what I thought would be the um, easiest or the smoothest course of action or the best for any specific career, but I've made every decision based upon what I thought would be best for my life story. And I don't know when I'll actually like pull the trigger on it and do it, In some way, I feel like I'm already doing it by talking about it online on YouTube and things like that. Obviously, I'm not making a ton of money on here, but it's times have changed, and it's kind of like one of those things. I'll definitely still write the book, but just to live up to um, the plan. But it's actually kind of gone farther in a sense that that you know I now gained not only the story by all these crazy decisions, and let's call them life lessons, but it led me to um, have a certain different mentality and a different mindset, and possibly even is the reason why I um, had the things happen more recently that led me to come on YouTube and start talking about spirituality. So um, it's really quite interesting, in fact. Anyways, one second. Let's go back to the chat. I wasn't reading it. Let's see what clever uh, caveman comments that people have for us today. Let's see. Where was that? Okay, there it is. I don't know what that means. Let's see. Noise says, "What's the pain in others you wish you could heal?" The pain in others I wish I could heal. Um, hmm. Um, I don't know. To be honest, I think that um, I think it's a mistake um, to try and heal anybody that hasn't asked for healing. You know, I think it's good to be an answer to someone's prayers if indeed they're seeking help and have asked for healing and are willing to stop taking the poison that made them sick to begin with. Um, but this world is based upon duality and karma. I mean, and that's really the whole point of it. It's as brutal as this whole thing is, it works perfectly. Everybody gets exactly what they deserve. Um, and it might be hard to see that when you look at a single lifetime, because sometimes some people come and they do nothing but good and they get nothing but um, shit on for their whole life, right? But um, trust and believe that in another life that they earned that in that case, and that um, no matter what happens, it's never really for no reason. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know that I wish to heal um, the pain of others. I feel bad for the pain that other people experience. Um, like I sympathize with them. I even empathize with them. Um, but I find that it's almost always a mistake to mix your karma with somebody else's. Unless indeed that's something that they have specifically prayed for, you know. And then it's okay to be the answer to somebody's prayers. That's fine, um, because that's good karma for you, right? But to just go around and be like, oh, I want to stop pain in the world. I want to stop somebody's whatever is. It's a self-sacrifice, and if you want out of this matrix, you have to worry about your own karma. As selfish as that might sound, um, but you have to accept that other people are you also. And so when somebody is working off their negative karma by having painful experiences, that is part of you that is healing also. You see what I'm saying? And so you need to let the healing happen. And it can all just switch like that. All of a sudden, your karma debt can be paid. And it only takes the blink of an eye for everything to change. So it's best just to let it run its course, in my opinion. Co Black, what's up, bro? How's your morning going? It's going very well. Good to see you again. It's nice to have you have you here 2 days in a row. Tony, good to see you. Good morning. Good morning. Um, David Rodriguez continues, says, I've been following you on social media for quite a while now, and I must say that your past life experiences resonate with mine. I remember viewing one of your Instagram live streams back in 2017. Oh, wow, David. Yeah, you have been coming around for a while. Yeah, I always forget how long I've been doing this. 2017, that's like pretty far back at the start. Yeah, I remember I think that I started in like, I want to say, I don't know if it probably, maybe it was 2017, I don't know. I remember I started on Live Me, which was like a precursor to TikTok before it turned into kind of like, it got like overinfested in bots, and then they like rebranded into TikTok. But like I started off on Live Me, and then I think it was like 2017, maybe at the end of 2017, that I switched to Instagram, um, during I want to say it was like right after Hurricane Irma, whenever that was. But yeah, I'm happy to have had you all with me all this time. It's interesting to think that I've been streaming that long, and I think that it's actually kind of an interesting kind of part of the whole divine plan, because while I might not have planned all this change, I certainly didn't see any of this coming back in 2017. Um, Hell, I didn't even know what the hell was going on back in 2017, because I got hit by lightning and didn't even remember most of my life. But um, it's kind of one of those weird, interesting things, like to have been streaming about, I don't know, whatever nonsense I was streaming about back then, probably like conspiracies and um, thinking I was going to wake people up to the reality of the government and things like that. And then all of a sudden, everything changed, right? So I think it's kind of cool in a sense that it was unplanned, but yet it really offers people something that, to my knowledge, doesn't really exist anywhere else in the world, right? Because, okay, we have plenty of gurus and yogis and stuff that make content nowadays. Like, that's cool, right? We got dudes literally OG yogis in India that are on Instagram talking deep Vedic wisdom and all that, right? But we don't get to see what they were like, uh, when they were younger. We didn't get to talk to them before they became enlightened, right? We didn't get to talk to them before they went through their spiritual changes or before they acquired their wisdom, right? And I didn't plan it like this, but I mean, I don't think that there's an actor in the world that could pull something off of this magnitude, that they could, over the course of 10 years, just be online, being 100% themselves, not giving any fucks, saying everything as they see it, and then show the sudden shift and the sudden change that comes along with enlightenment, right? So it's not like a pride thing. I'm not like whatever, but like I'm just like, as an observer, as trying to be the observer of my own self and my own life. I think it's the most interesting part is the fact that we were already streaming before the change. Not only that, but like, not to mention my other work. Um, it's like you all got to see what I was up to on so many different levels. I was sharing my mind, but I was also sharing my body and a completely different set of skills, or what I always considered my kung fu, you know. And I don't know that if there is anyone else in the world that um, has been able to give such an example of what spiritual awakening is and does. Please point me in that direction. I would love to see their stuff, because I agree that it's quite a unique situation. David continues, his story gave me inspiration that I needed at the time to get out of the rut that I was in. It's 2026 now, and I'm in a way better place. I hope that you're in a better place now as well. Please share more, David. I would love to hear more about that. I think that's so good, and honestly, it's a huge inspiration to me. I'm not going to lie, you guys. This morning, after last night's stream, because last night's stream was like really hard on me. It's always super hard on me when it shifts towards religion, which I think, it kind of seems like I'm just a glutton for punishment, because obviously most people associate religion and spirituality pretty heavily, though I think that in some ways they couldn't be farther away from each other. Um, but um, it is really hard on me when I have to debate with someone regarding religion, because I know that religion for some people is like a source of strength and a place that they get they find peace, and that can be a cornerstone of people's foundation. And I hate to be the one that has to, uh, you know, put the first cracks in that cornerstone of their foundation. But um, but I can't lie either. So when people um, take the conversation there, I don't really have much of a choice. And then, I wake up, like today, I woke up thinking, like, what am I doing? Like, am I really on YouTube talking about spirituality and stuff? Like, I'm gonna go up against the institutions that have been weaponizing this thing for the last several thousand years. I'm gonna be the guy that um, informs people of the last thing in the world that they ever want to hear. I don't know. I was really thinking, like, maybe I'm doing the wrong thing by being on these streams this morning. But thank you, David, because you have done a lot for me right now by telling me that. And I am now realizing that just because not everybody tells me that I've helped them, or tells me in what ways that these streams mean to them, that it doesn't mean that there aren't many people that are helped by it, that just don't say anything. So thank you for saying something. I really appreciate it. It helps me find the strength to continue, because sometimes it is really discouraging to talk about this kind of stuff with people, especially, obviously there's a lot of people that just doom scroll through YouTube or whatever and looking for someone to talk shit to, and the guy with dreadlocks and a unibrow is an easy target, especially when they don't realize who I actually am and what I've done with my life, and that all of this is completely and totally intentional. But there's a lesson there too, I guess, right? Maya, good to see you. Maya says, hello everyone, nice to see and hear you. Show us the Mama Nature. She's out there. Happy Mother's Day, you guys. Yeah, to the greatest mother of all. Good old Mother Nature. BB Bean says, Trevor Noah explained how he used to book his schedule up, and Chris Rock joked with him that he was going to be an awful comedian that way. You have to live life in order to support your art. That is true. That is absolutely true. I never heard that, and I don't know. I never heard of Trevor Noah, but I definitely have heard of Chris Rock, and that is actually really good advice. Um, that's like what I actually realized kind of more recently. I tried to expand my schedule to be like 3 days a week on here. I was trying to do Saturday, Sunday, and Wednesday. I only did it for like 1 or 2 weeks or whatever before I think I failed even in actually doing it the first whole week. And then the second week I did it 1 week and I was like, damn, I don't got any time to just live. Like, what the hell am I supposed to do? Like, how am I supposed to come on here and talk about spirituality if all I'm doing is sitting here grinding it out on YouTube all the time? So I was like, yeah, okay, I can at least try to do an AM PM thing so I can get to my Aussies and the time zones that are missing me. Just cluster it up on the weekend, but yeah, you gotta make time for life. You can't spend too much time on this phone. This thing is like, it can be a good thing, can be, but it's not for 99% of people. It's literally the shackle. It's the second worst thing on the planet. These phones. The first is obviously the almighty dollar, right? But the second strongest, the dollar is the shackle on one leg, and the phone is the shackle on the other leg. So there is that. David Rodriguez says, you have been a big positive inspiration to me, and I hope one day to meet you, my friend. I hope so too. I'm definitely going to, I think that the natural progression of this whole thing is definitely to eventually have some in-person meetings or conferences, or maybe even like a village or something, an eco an eco, some type of a, off-grid farm kind of situation if I really want to be like crazy. But at very minimum, I would like to do some meetups, some conferences, some kind of things. Because, well, like I think that one of the main topics that I talk about on here, and you guys can tell me if I'm wrong. Maybe there's something else that seems to be the most reoccurring thing. But I think the most reoccurring uh, message that I have to give, which I say in almost every stream, is about the limitation of words. That words really cannot describe what it is that we're talking about, right? Only a direct experience with the divine can truly teach you about the divine, right? And, you know, I think of like the way, like the events that led up to my own uh, unfolding, and I look at others who have unfolded and the things that I've heard from them and so on and so forth. And, I think of one of my favorite Taoist quotes of uh, few can aspire to teach without words. Um, but that really is the realest way to, like, there is an energy field, and um, I, while I don't know, I don't think that I have ever succeeded in transmitting enlightenment to another person yet. I have watched how people change very rapidly in my presence in the last couple of years. Not to say that I have been around very many people in the last couple of years, but the few people that I have spent a lot of time with um, have changed for the better quite rapidly. Um, and so I feel that, the natural course is to eventually expose more people to that. So I hope that we do get to meet one day. You and all um, my regulars on here that have been with me all this time. So thank you, David. Um, let's see. BB Bean says, I'm curious why you used to get into trouble with somewhat stereotypically good upbringing, at least financially, socially, tumultuous family relationships. Um, oh, I don't know. I mean, my parents definitely were not like angels. I mean, my grandma was kind of an angel, but not that kind of angel. So, no, I mean, I was kind of raised, it's kind of probably like a genetic disposition. Like my mother and my father and my grandparents were all like legendary hell raisers in good ways, in kind of a good way. They were all like, fun people. They were all good people, but they were not socially normal. They all liked to party and um, stuff like that. I didn't really have tumultuous family relationships until like later on. That was really all caused by, um, like my mom was mad at me for a while for getting in so much trouble, but um, no, I don't really know. I honestly just think it was like a genetic predisposition. Um, like some people are just not made for this fucking nanny society, you know, like some of us were born to be warriors. And society today has been built around, extinguishing that flame. And I think that, I don't know, I think it's just the people that were, born to the, the powers that be, the people that have enslaved us, they've created a society that, where it propagates weakness, and it rewards the best slaves, and it, imprisons the people that in the past would have been our leaders, because as it's been said, they don't want a nation of thinkers, they want a nation of workers. So I think that's just the way it goes. And it's like we used to have a saying in prison, too hard for the yard. You know what I'm saying? And I think it was really just that. Growing up in a small town, everyone knew each other. Everyone was in each other's business. And just having a little bit too much tenacity for modern society. You know what I mean? Gobanico says, peace, love, and kindness. Love yourself and love others. Always pay it forward through goodwill. Amen to that. Get off track here for a second. Just remember, like, karma is absolute. The most powerful type of anything that you can do is like karma yoga. You want to be a magician? Work on your karma. You want to be a manifester? Work on your karma. The moment that your good karma outweighs your bad karma, you cannot fall. Like, life will carry you no matter what. Like, you cannot fail. The very second that your good karma outweighs your bad karma, you cannot fall. Period. Well said, Gomanico. What's up? Good morning, Brave. Good to see you. Good to see you as always. Medios. Oh, whoops. I forgot you were blocked. Shouldn't have even mentioned it. Let's see. Noy says, what's your perspective on self-respect and being selfish? Because sometimes people often misunderstand the two. That's true. That is true. The thing is we have to do whatever that we decide to do without any attachment, right? And the main thing which we need to detach from is an outcome, right? So whatever we do, we have to do without expecting anything in return, right? The moment that we do something with attachment to the outcome, that's the moment that it becomes selfish, right? But if we do something out of self-respect, We do it because it's the right thing to do and because we're not going to deviate from our moral code or diminish our virtue. You see what I'm saying? And beyond that, it doesn't really matter what anyone else thinks or misunderstands. They don't need to understand, because us wanting them to understand is an attachment to an outcome. You see what I'm saying? So the moment that we require someone else to understand us as it is a moment when we become attached. So above, one of the most powerful things spiritually that we can do is maintain an absolute state of detachment. When we say detachment, it doesn't mean that like we're like uncaring or whatever like that. It means that we don't require an outcome, right? One way or another to uh, make us happy about our decision, right? Whatever we decide to do, we make that decision based upon moral and virtue and self-respect, right? So as long as we make those decisions, that's why it's called a moral code, because it's a law, right? That's why it's called a virtue, because you know what I'm saying, it's who we are. It's not who we're pretending to be. You see what I'm saying? And so the way that we react to any situation or what we do in those situations, it doesn't change. It's static. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't require any thought. It's, this is who I am, so this is what I do, you know? And we don't require anyone to understand us. The understanding is an outcome. You know what I'm saying? And just because someone doesn't understand us tomorrow or doesn't understand us at the moment when we did something, doesn't mean that they won't eventually come to understand later. It's just that their own perception has not allowed them to see in totality the truth, right? And so we don't judge them for it. We just have faith, you know. Brazzy Jane says, I came into America illegally. Now I'm scared that they will send me back. What do I do? Um, well, I guess we need more information. Like, why are you scared to go back? Um, like, I don't really know what the laws are. Like, is it possible to, like, also exit illegally and then try to come back in legally? If that's a possibility, I would possibly try that. Um, um, if it's not a possibility and you just want to stay no matter what, as much as you can, like, you're gonna have to really research laws and see what your options are. I think the best case is to, if they don't know you came in and you can somehow get out and then try to come back in through a legal route, that seems to be the wisest course. If you just decided, I love America so much that this is where I want to be and I'll do anything to be here, then the obvious choice is to sneak out the same way you snuck in and then come back in legally. Now, if you came in on like a tourist visa or something and just never left, then your only option is obviously to just ride it till the wheels fall off, right? And if you're going to ride it till the wheels fall off, then I would say adopt the same motto that I used when I was on parole and I was in LA working in the business and I wasn't supposed to be there because it was outside my radius. And something that when I got off parole, I deviated from, and I found that my happiness dwindled and that I eventually went back to, right, which is minimalism. And the words that I used to always say initially, long before I really thought about minimalism or the spiritual aspects of it and all that, but rather just looking at everything from the lens of somebody who had lost everything before and was somewhere they weren't supposed to be, is that if I have nothing, I have nothing to lose. So, so, I hope that helps. If you have to stay, because like I said, because there's no way to do it legally, then be a minimalist. Make sure that if the day comes that you get sent back, that you get sent back with everything that you got. Keep your money in Bitcoin, in crypto, or whatever, so that you can still get into your, they don't take all your cash and send you back empty-handed or broke, or take your bank account or whatever. And if you actually got in without anybody knowing that you got in to begin with, then I would suggest sneaking back out and then trying to come back in legally. I hope I don't get in trouble for saying that, but that's my advice. Zero says, I hope you got out of that evil industry. Who was your favorite star? Why would you hope that I got out and then want to ask me questions about it? That's crazy. Kansi says, wishing you the absolute best on your new adventure. Maybe everything you hoped for and more. Enjoy every moment. Thank you, Kansi. Much appreciated. T-Chat says, no judgment, just curious. What are we curious about? I missed the other half of that. David Rodriguez says, I remember on your 2017 Instagram live stream in which you stated that you were living in your car with only a couple of cans of food before entering the industry back in 2010. Hearing your story gave me the motivation that I needed to get out of the shitty situation that I was in back in 2017. In 2026, I am 29 years of age with zero debt and with considerable amount of wealth. Thank you, Bruce. You're very welcome, David. Congratulations. You did it. Sometimes you got to take the chances. For the people that didn't hear that story, I'll tell it again. So maybe it can give someone else some motivation. So I got out in a prison in 2009, right? And in 2010, about a little over a year later, I had done my first scene, and I had rebuilt my whole life. I got out during the recession. I was working 3 jobs, waiting tables, Applebee's, Olive Garden, and Chile's all at the same damn time in 3 different cities. And I had a little barn dominium on a ranch where I would also shovel horse shit every morning to trade for my rent. And then one day my landlord was like, oh, this girl wants to rent your house, and she's got 13 horses, and she's going to board them all here if she can rent your house too. He's like, I kind of have to do it. It's like a lot of money for me. He's like, I can give you 90 days. I was like, it's all right. I'll be out by the end of the month. Don't worry about it. At this point, I had done like 3 scenes or something. And so I had one more scene booked on the 4th, and I had a garage sale to try to sell all my things. Well, a few of my friends came and like bought stuff. Like some chick bought my bed, and the horse trainer I worked for like bought some of my tools. But aside from that, nobody bought anything because I was like out in the country, right? But the neighbors had come by, and I was like, hey, come back on Sunday and I'll make you a good deal on anything that I don't sell. So the neighbors came back on Sunday, and I was like, I'll tell you what, take everything for free, but just leave this place totally clean as if nobody was ever here. They're like, seriously? I was like, yeah. So they went, got all the cousins and everything, and they came through back in their pickup truck, and they did like 3 trips, boom, cleaned my place out. And so I threw a bag of clothes and some canned food and a mattress topper in the back of my 94 Ford Tempo, and that night to Kink Armory, did a scene, spent the night at Kink, and then drove halfway to LA. I went to Los Osos to my grandma's house for one night, and then I went to LA. I like I said, I had canned food in my car, and I had the number to the Las Palmas Hotel, which is where they shot Pretty Woman before she met Richard Gere, like really shitty ghetto hotel. And I was in LA only for an hour. I made one phone call to this A-list talent that I seen in my phone. When I opened it up, it was at the top of my contact list because it was A space, right? And they were like, "Oh, are you still coming to LA?" Apparently I had sent them an email before that they never responded to. I was like, "Yeah, I'm here now. I'm at Van Nuys in Burbank." They're like, "Oh, cool, you're close. Come on down." So I went down, Laurel Canyon, Ventura area, and they signed me straight away. 3 days later, I was working for 150% more. Never had to spend one night in the car. Um, and that's how the story of Bruce Venture began. So just remember, if you got nothing, you got nothing to lose. The virtues of minimalism right there in a nutshell. Noy says, nothing perfect in this world. Differences of opinion are not for debate. We find similarities and differences. That is how we learn to respect others. True. True. But I would say that we could actually even do that the other way around. We can just respect others, and then we can find similarities and differences. Let's see. Carl said, you mentioned in the past stream the type of person you would like to take seriously is not on Tinder. What qualities in a partner stand out to you? That's a good question. I don't know if I stand by that completely, the whole Tinder thing. I mean, I think that maybe it's like definitely could be a red flag. But it's not necessarily always probably the case. I've I don't know how long ago that was that I said that, but I've definitely I was celibate for like a year, and then I started dabbling in dating and stuff again, and I definitely went through some things and learned some things. Like I thought, like I mentioned last night, one of the most important parts of the spiritual process, if not the most important part, is to confront your shadows, right? And sometimes you have to test yourself by trying to do things that have historically been a trigger to you. And you have to try to understand yourself in a depth that allows you to do those same things without being triggered. And I suppose it all kind of ties in back to what we were just saying in the minimalist aspect, and also in the detachment aspect of, not being attached to an outcome, you know, um, you know, to be preset on certain qualities in a partner is kind of asking for trouble. That's kind of like speaking of attachment from the start. And when we think of relationship, I guess we usually think of it as mandatory attachment, right? But I've come to feel differently now, where I feel that this whole aspect of detachment applies even more there than in any other aspect of life. in the past, I've been like a kind of controlling partner myself, and even a bit possessive. Um, and what I've realized since then is that when you try to mold somebody to your image, or you try to pick someone that fits a certain list of qualities or whatever, um, you kind of suffocate their individuality, right? And if sometimes somebody will like you so much that they will try to be what you want, um, at the cost of being themselves. But that's not something that can be maintained over the long term. So I think that now I'm just, I'm more interested in just observing people and like letting people be part of my life that want to be part of my life, rather than trying to find anybody. That list of qualities um, or attributes that I think are wholesome or not. You know, um, if somebody bends to your will, it's kind of, that is an attribute, that is a personality type, but you have to ask yourself, it's like, if they'll bend to your will, then will they also bend to somebody else's will? Um, so instead, it's better, I think, just to be an observer and like let people be whoever they are and who they want to be, and just maintain a certain level of detachment, to the point that if who they are naturally turns out to be something that you value in your life and want to keep around, then that's a good thing. And if it turns out that they're not, and that their presence causes you some type of discord or emotional uneasement, or even any other type um, of turbulence, be it emotionally, financially, um, health-wise, with your diet, anything, then that's also a good thing, because you don't get yourself caught up in something that um, is beyond your control, right? Because the only thing that we can truly control in life is ourselves. We can't really control anyone else. We can't. Sure. And the other thing too is that whatever someone presents to you is not necessarily always their true self, and it can sometimes take even years for someone to really start being themselves around you, to someone to really expose who they really are. There's like some pretty strong actors out there. So for me personally, I just kind of go with the flow. And if somebody is making an effort to be part of my life, and that they're bringing positivity into my life and having a positive effect on me, bringing out the best in me, and that's pretty much what I look for. I don't really look for anything in them specifically. I only really look at the effect that they have on me, because I'm the only thing that I can control. I can't control them. They could change one day. They could be showing me something different than what they really are. They could have a change of heart. Anything can happen. The only thing that I have control of is me. So what I look at when I look at qualities in a partner is really the qualities in myself that they bring out of me. You know what I'm saying? Um, because the moment that you start like categorizing people and saying, "Oh, this is the set of qualities," like you're gonna lose way more than you're ever gonna gain, and most of the time you're always gonna end up being wrong too. So, um, now whether or not someone being on Tinder is like a bad sign, I mean, it really just depends. Like, it's like, okay, yeah, I mean, if you're coming with like a possessive mindset, which I have in the past, then yeah, it might not be good because, it's somebody who is seeking something and possibly seeking something without um, having a really good process of choosing people themselves. Or possibly it also could just indicate somebody who doesn't have a tremendous amount of time to dedicate to finding a partner, um, which is also kind of a bad sign. But I don't think it's where I'm at now personally in life. I don't think it's necessarily a total deal breaker. I just have a completely different way of looking at things, and that has changed tremendously for me. Like my way of looking at it since I would say I broke my celibacy like in June 2024, or maybe it was 2025. June 2025. Yeah, what is it? That wasn't that long ago. So, you know, um, but that's been like a big part of my own shadow work. You know what I'm saying? Like a lot of my darkness kind of ties back and stems from relationships with women. So, um, I've, you know, after doing a lot of other areas of self work, this is like a more recent one that I've done some really, really, really intense work on myself regarding. And, you know, I just now just feel like letting people be whoever they want to be. And if it has a positive impact on me, then it's a good thing. It's a good addition to my life. If it has a negative impact on me, then it's just not something I would probably continue. You know. Hello, I'm in Costa Rica. BB Bean says, I guess I understand that. I've always been a hellraiser myself, but it used to be more getting into trouble with self-destructive tendencies. Now my hell raising is more pointed at social constructs. Yeah, I get that. Um, but the thing, and I suppose I've also gone through that same um, progression. I've definitely have had some self-destructive tendencies in the past, and I've also been somewhat zealous towards the deconstruction of certain social constructs at times in my life as well. But through coming to like a deeper understanding of duality, and that the nature of duality, the beauty of it, derived from the tremendous brutality of it, is balance, right? The underlying key thing that makes it all so interesting and so enlightening, such a good teacher, duality. And I don't mean just a teacher for us. I mean duality, this entire world based upon duality. It is a school, right? It's not a school for you as an individual. It's a school for you as a fractalated uh, piece of awareness of God, right? It's a school for God, right? So this is like high level lesson here. And the thing that makes it beautiful, that makes it such a good school, is the fact that it always finds balance. It's mean reverting. You know what I'm saying? Like, no matter how far out it gets, it always still somehow finds balance. It always finds that center, you know? And so, while the social constructs and all this shit going on in the world, it seems bizarre. It really does. It's like some kind of mixture of idiocracy and, I don't know, fucking it's like every fucking it's bizarre. But it's bizarre because we're looking at it through a lens of our own perception that is tied to a span of time, and time doesn't really exist, right? It's mean reverting, and it always finds balance. It always finds balance over the course of eternity, all right? In the same way that like a casino operates on like a small edge, right? That to where it doesn't really matter like how much ever goes through that roulette wheel. Over the course of the eternity, the profit for the casino is always equal to the edge. Doesn't mean that they can't have huge losses or huge wins on any day-to-day, week-to-week, month-to-month, year-to-year basis. There can be huge swings that are multi-years long, right? Standard of deviation, right? But over the course of all time, it always finds balance, and the balance ends up, you know, the house always wins. It doesn't matter if you win, the house still won, because every dollar that goes through that roulette wheel or a craps table or whatever it is always attributes to a profit that equals the edge, right? And this is the same with life, except for there is no edge, right? It's zero. It's a coin flip. Over the course of all, like maybe if we flip a coin, you know what I'm saying, enough times, if that coin's perfectly balanced, it doesn't matter if it's heads 10 to 1 for a year. Eventually, over the course of time, it will balance out, right? And that's what life is on like a quantum level. So this world is on a quantum level. So no matter how sideways it seems like it's getting and how weird everything seems like it's getting, it's gonna find balance. It's gonna swing back the other way, right? Um, and so what we really want is the same thing that we want like at a casino if we're a gambler, right? We want to lower the standard of deviation, right? We want the highs and the lows to narrow in onto each other. You know what I'm saying? So that balance can be like more like this instead of like, because that's what we're getting right now. Is right now we're getting whiplash, swinging us one way to the next, right? And right now it feels like it's swinging us way the hell out in one side, right? But um, it's gonna swing back. But what we need to do as a people, you know, as a society, is that we need to try to lower that standard of deviation. Everybody needs to become way more moderate, right? If we want to talk about things politically or whatever. The whole extremism thing is really a big problem because that's how our deviation gets way out there, right? It's a risk-reward ratio, right? Everyone wants this huge reward, and so they're piling on too much risk, right? And the thing about that is like it seems like it's great. Seems like it can be great for a while, because it can be skewed in a way where you take many small wins, and then you take one catastrophic loss, or it could be the opposite. But the balance is always achieved, right? So we don't want like a lot of small wins, only to have an immediate, earth-shattering, catastrophic loss, right? It'd be better to take many small losses and have one huge win, right? Because that's going to be a lot more comfortable for for the world. Um, but, since we're not dealing with something that really, I mean, I guess there kind of is an edge because it's all going to get raked in the end, right? But, um, you know, that kind of actually works in our favor while it still is in existence. So, um, yeah, there is that. Swaraj says, progress without outcome. I read this. It's called Karma Yoga. And as said in Bhagavad Gita, even though I'm not religious, but it was really good philosophy to read. Totally. Bhagavad Gita is amazing. But yeah, I was talking about Karma Yoga earlier. Like, Karma Yoga is basically like the strongest magic that one can perform. If you want to be an almighty, powerful manifester, Karma Yoga is the way to do it. You know what I'm saying? Like I mentioned it earlier, and you probably, maybe you must not have been here, but the very moment that your good karma outweighs your bad karma is the moment when you can never fail. Everything is yours at that point. Doesn't matter if it takes you 100 lifetimes to make that happen. It's worth every one of those lifetimes, and more so, it's worth every one of those deaths. If you gotta die 1,000 times to make your karma, your good karma outweigh your bad karma, that's worth it. Because at that point, you can't lose. You know. So, progress without attachment to outcome. That is the key. Carl said, you mentioned being so in love with a girl that you didn't feel attracted to the women you were performing with. Isn't that strong evidence in support of monogamy? Um, I mean, it shows the natural, that's the natural way. It's strong evidence of support to what I said earlier. That um, we can only control ourselves. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can't force someone to be monogamous to you unless you uh, fucking lock them up somewhere and control their, spy on their every movement and make it whatever. And then it's like, is that who they are in their heart? Or is that who they've become to avoid some kind of negative outcome? Right? Now, if you give someone all the freedom in the world to do whatever they want to do and they choose to be monogamous to you, that's a pretty strong sign that you have a really solid person in your life, right? Not to say that it's the only factor, and that somebody who's, doesn't feel that way can't still be a solid person for you, um, but um, as I said before, like, we can only control ourselves. So, like, the truest judge of anybody else's character is the effect that they have on us. You know what I'm saying? If a woman, you know, has like, say, like, in that situation, that was back in 2017 or 2016. Um, you know, if I could be so in love that I wanted to quit porn because wasn't attracted to anyone else because of the effect that someone else had on me, right? She literally turned a porn star into um, you know, a monogamous person. That's like a positive effect that they had on me. Now, it wasn't a positive effect for my career, but it was a positive effect for my moral attitude. Do you know what I'm saying? And so, um, I would say that that's just more support of what I said earlier, is that we shouldn't judge somebody else so much as we should judge the effect that someone else has on us. Do they make us a better person? You know what I mean? And that's where it can start and where it can end, because that's all that's within our control. Suarez says, how to overcome screen addiction. Like, I'm kind of conscious that it will lead to a miserable life and bad brain, but still can't control it. I feel like I'm an NPC in this world. Grateful for your answer. How to overcome screen addiction. I would say, I mean, I don't know how old you are, Suarez, but I would say, um, um, like, if you want to stop being an NPC, you want to try to learn who your true self is and possibly overcome screen addiction and just a multitude of effects. One of the most powerful things that you can do is re-child, right? Like, I'm gonna hope and assume that this isn't a problem that you've had since you were a child, and that you're like super young, and that you've spent your whole life with a phone in your hand, because that would be sad. But, and possibly I could try to come up with some different information if that is the case, but, or different suggestions if that is the case. But if it's not the case, if ever in your life their time existed where you were not addicted to it, where you existed without screen addiction, like at one time in life you were a child, and maybe you liked to play with bugs, or you liked to go swimming, or you liked to play some sport, or you like to go on walks through the forest or in the mountains, or you like to go fishing, though I wouldn't say that killing animals is a good pastime, but um, whatever it was that you liked to do as a child, if there was ever anything that didn't involve screens, get back in touch with that. You know what I'm saying? Like, I assume that you're an adult now. And just because you're an adult doesn't mean that you have to like take life super serious and be all about work and like these other things, because that's kind of NPC behavior too, right? Do the things that you historically love to do. Get rid of the phone. Like, you know, um, there's no, you know, um, like, it's not that great. You know what I'm saying? Like, just try to get back in touch with the things that you used to love to do, or maybe even do the things that you always wanted to do as a child and you never got to do. If there's anything like that, like maybe there was like something that you were like envious of other people for getting to do that you didn't get to do. Well, guess what? Now you can do it because you're a grown up. That doesn't mean that you have to stop being a kid or stop doing like playful things. That means that you can do whatever the fuck you want. Go do the things that you always wanted to do before that you couldn't do. You know what I'm saying? Like, let that be, you know, your focus. Rechild yourself. Go play. You know what I'm saying? Just because you're an adult now doesn't mean you have to be so focused on what the fuck's going through your phone. It's all just brainwashing. You know? I hope that helps. I don't know. We can expand on that if it didn't, but HH42089 says, are you white or Jewish? I am non-dual. I'm just a human. You know, there's a concept called divide and conquer. You know what I'm saying? And the moment that we start trying to fit ourselves into these little categories is the moment that um, we become ruled. We become conquered. You know? Quantum chance says, oh wait. Spiderweb says, it's hard to become a citizen of USA nowadays. Yes, but hard is not impossible. You know? And, you know, sometimes the grass is always greener on the other side. You know what I mean? Like, I just went through hell. If you watched my stream last night, I talked about it. Like, I just went through hell to escape the US. I don't have any desire, you know what I mean? Like, it's fucking, you know, like in my view, it's Mordor. You know what I'm saying? So, it's hard to, you know, the scope of perception is vast, right? Do I prefer women with or without makeup? Definitely without makeup. There's nothing worse than thinking you bagged a hottie and then, you know, it turns out to just be that she was good at painting. Sorry, that was a little shallow, but it is kind of disappointing when that happens. BB Bean says, this is my first live stream of yours. Why are some of these comments so out of pocket? Y'all are wilding. Well, you know, there's some tools here on YouTube that pretty much completely get rid of all the trolls. Like, if I put just like a little bit of a chat delay, most of them go away, even if it's like a 1 minute chat delay, because the kind of people that are scrolling through just to talk shit to people also are the type of people that have very, very, very short attention spans, and like they're not actually interested in listening or watching anything to anyone else. They just want to hear themselves talk or see themselves type. You know what I'm saying? Like, they're wanting to express themselves in some kind of negative way because they're negative people that have probably been abused by their parents and things. So even with a 1 minute chat delay, most of them go away. And all of them go away if you turn on subscribers only chat, right? The reason why we don't turn on subscriber only chat, even though that I'm completely aware that I have grown in my eyebrows and let my hair mat, is that it drives traffic. You know, the algorithm on YouTube doesn't really differentiate by what people are saying. It just sees that people scroll through and they stop on this stream and they type something. So we let them do their thing because, you know, I'm a pretty confident person that the last thing in the world that's going to bother me is what some victim of narcissistic abuse from their parents says to me on YouTube after basically billions of people across the planet have had orgasms while looking at me when I was plucked and groomed like society has created a normal image for. But yeah, basically it's to drive traffic. We just let them do it, you know. Lazarus 666 says, throw away your smartphone and buy a burner. It will help you not scroll all day. That's what I want to do. I'm all about it. I do it every once in a while, but I always end up going back because it's like I have to use this for work and stuff like that, you know. But honestly, that's what I'd like to do. I'd like to just have a burner phone, just so I can talk to people for my emergencies. Like, I'd really like them to like bring back like the little, like, I would like a burner phone that has like voice to text. I think that would be cool. So you don't have to like do the T3 or whatever. Or maybe one of those flip out ones like I used to have that had like the real keyboard. That'd be cool. But yeah, burner phone. I'm a big supporter of that. Tweak the Devourer says, where are you? That looks peaceful. I'm in Costa Rica on my balcony. And look at Sam came to say hello, even though he ate some. Look at this is Sam on. I spilled my cacao earlier, and Sam immediately tried to like start drinking it. He's not dying. I don't know if like maybe it's like a crazy hardcore drug because he looks like a little bit unhinged right now. What's up, dude? You alright? You drank some fucking cacao? I don't know, he seems to be living. I hope he's gonna be alright. Jam Clapper says, are you that male corn person? Yes. Can you bots in the chat like talk? I don't know what the hell that means, but I don't know. Chat talks, but I'm waiting for him to answer where he is. Yeah, you guys keep in mind, obviously I'm reading the chat in chronological order. If you want to skip the line and you want instant gratification for your comment, you can do a super comment and it'll pop up at the bottom of my screen for a small fee. Okay. If you are patient and don't want to pay for instant gratification, make sure that you, if it's not super obvious what you're talking about, make sure that you write like what you're responding to in your comment as well, so that when I get to it, or be super detailed in your question or whatever, because I don't always know, like if you're writing if I'm just now reading something that you responded to something that I was saying 5 minutes ago, 10 minutes ago, I'm not going to know what the hell I was saying 5 or 10 minutes ago. So just keep that in mind. Our teammate says, hey man, how do you get that peaceful state without worrying about superficial shit like bills and money? Minimalism. I mean, I gotta tell you, like, so talking about superficial shit like bills and money, let's talk about like a concept. Like, think about the stock market, right? Why is it more dangerous to short a stock than it is to buy some equity in a stock, right? Well, not everyone knows what shorting a stock is. So that's when you take on cash in exchange for a stock that you don't own. Basically, you sell something that you don't own, right? So then you hope that when it goes down, you don't have to pay back the money, but you have to pay back the stocks. So you buy them cheaper, you give back the stocks, and you get to keep the difference, right? So that's shorting a stock. It's a way to make money when a stock goes down. But it's considered a risky thing. Why is it risky? Well, because when you buy a stock, the worst thing that can happen is that it becomes worthless. It can go to zero, and that's the most you can ever lose. But if you short a stock, right, you owe those stocks, and it can go up indefinitely. The sky is the limit, right? So you can lose an unlimited amount. Now, when we chase after money and possessions and material shit, right, and as we know, almost all material shit loses value over time. And we also know that even fiat currency is inflationary and loses value over time. It's basically an unwinning game. It can go up indefinitely. You will never, ever reach the very top. Okay, maybe like, I don't know, I guess Elon Musk or whatever has reached pretty high level, right? But what's the chances are that you're going to be an Elon Musk, right? So, you know, and even if you are an Elon Musk, think about how much control the people with trillions of dollars, the governments, so on and so forth, have over someone like Elon Musk. You know what I'm saying? Like, they can do the world's biggest rug pull on you, no matter how much that you have. They can always yank that rug, right? So the more you have, the bigger the chain on your ankle or your wrist or whatever it is. You know what I'm saying? You're the more money you have, the bigger slave you are. Even if you might have a nicer cage, you might have a nicer car, a nicer place to live, so on and so forth. But the truth is that you also have the most leverage against you, because they can always take whatever you got, right? Now, on the opposite end of that, there's a definite floor. You know what I'm saying? Like 0, 0, right? So if you adopt, you know, a minimalistic attitude, it doesn't mean that you need to stop allowing money to come to you. You can take whatever comes to you, right? But you would be shocked and amazed that if you just put as much mind, and also keep in mind, this is harder than it sounds. Most people are like, oh yeah, it must be easy to be broke. No, well, being broke is one thing, but being minimalistic sounds easier than it is. So if you instead of turning all of your energy towards making more to overcome your bills by, say, you know, we feel comfortable if we're making 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 times whatever our bills are, we feel comfortable. But, you know, if you're spending 10,000 a month or something to make 40,000 a month, and all of a sudden you start having some hard times, that 10,000 a month is going to eat you up pretty quick, right? So, you know, you spend 10 to make 40. Most people think, oh, I'm doing really good, I'm profiting 30,000 a month, right? That's, by most people's standards, like pretty good income, right? But what about the guy that has like $1,000 a month bills and is making like $5,000 a month, right? He's actually doing better. He has more security, and they're gonna and if that 5,000 a month is passive income, he's fucking shitting on the guy making 40,000 a month with only making 5,000 a month. So the key is find the absolute rock bottom of bills. Like, fucking cut away everything, any and everything. Cut it. Find out exactly how little you can live without. Or like, you know what I'm saying? Like, find out what your absolute minimum basic needs for survival is. Air, food, water, and probably shelter. All right? Air, food, and water are the non-negotiables. So shelter is like, oh yeah. Right? Once you get it down to air, food, water, and the most humble possible fucking shelter imaginable, and then take back as much time after that. You get it all the way down, then now you start going for time. You're like, fuck your money. I want time. And health. Remember that health is wealth. Health is the greatest wealth there is, period. Right? But that kind of goes hand in hand with time, because how much time do you really have? You spend all your time working yourself to the bone, and then one day you're old and, you know, it's all just passed you by, right? So you find the absolute minimum, and then you start shifting all your mindset towards getting back the time, making all of your income passive as possible, where you get it with as little effort as possible, right? You get your bills down to like 1,000 a month, and you get your passive income up to 5,000 a month, and you're literally shitting on the people that are spending 10, 15 to make a fucking 50K a month. Shitting on them. And you'll have peace. You'll be so much happier. Just saying. That's some of my best advice right there. Mike Hunt wife says, Bruce, at the clinic they told me I'm legally required to tell my past partners I'm at the clinic and they told me I'm legally required to tell my past partners by Tuesday. You should get. I get checked all the time, dude. Worry about yourself. Teddy Tears says, "Hey, I found. Oh, you're gone. So is Mike Hunt. Let's see. Let me. Idea. Okay. Pisiric says, "What's Kundalini?" Um. Well, do you want like my version, or do you want like the classic version? That that's Kundalini is what they call the coiled serpent, right? It's supposedly like an energy that's stored in your sacrum, right? Which raises up to your brain and causes enlightenment, right? Um, and I suppose that's a fairly good way to describe it. I don't know about the serpent part, but there definitely is some energy channels that run up and down the spine, and there definitely is a huge bundle of nerves in the sacrum, right? And um, for whatever reason, when you connect that nerve bundle to the cerebellum, um, it causes a reaction, neuroscientifically speaking, which awakens dormant brain cells within your mind. And um, at that point, um, you will shift from being a kind of uh, normie person that's really focused on sex and survival and things to a very cerebral person, right? And the way that I like to describe what's called a Kundalini rising is, rather than this uncoiling serpent that rises to the brain, is I like to describe it as a spinal orgasm, right? So if you can get your spine to have an orgasm, right? And that orgasm can be intense enough that it goes all the way into your brain, um, it will awaken the parts of your brain that are currently sleeping right now, and it will completely and totally change you as a person. Like um, you'll become enlightened. And so that's my most simple description of Kundalini. It's it's the third phase of human development. So like in the same way, imagine that when you're 12 or 13 or whatever, you go through puberty, and all of a sudden your hormones and everything change in your body, and your body starts changing. You start growing hair, you become sexually um, uh, mature, you can reproduce, and you start growing. In men's case, you start gaining muscle. In women's case, you start developing um, a more womanly figure, so on and so forth, right? There's a third phase as well that humans are supposed to go through, but it's been suppressed because somebody who has been enlightened, or that has awakened their Kundalini, um, does not fear death, and they don't really fear anything, and they um, have they gain like a thought process that is advanced enough to completely see through the veil of control which society has placed on us, that has allowed us to be enslaved and makes us into a useful working class of people. And so the the powers that be have trained everyone through things like diet and consumption and fear and lust and greed, low vibrational emotions, but probably one of the biggest factors is the concept of eating 3 times a day. To stop this third phase of development. And if this happens to you, it is similar to puberty in the sense that your body goes through actual physical changes as well, where your spine starts regrowing and innervating all of your organs in a much more complex way, and it awakens a bunch of your dormant brain cells. So, but this is not a very quick process. This is something which, once it happens, triggers a longer process. It happens very rapidly, but the actual physical changes associated with it can take, 3 to like 12 years or something, depending on how clean your body is and how much time you spend in meditation and allowing the process to happen, how much doing things like, it's one of the big aspects of yoga. Most people think of yoga as just asana, like the physical movements and things associated. Well, actually, that's one of the smallest parts of yoga, but the reason why that is part of it is because when you become Kundalini awakened, your spine needs to be in a certain level of health to be able to finish this process without having problems. Because like, it'll literally be like your spinal segments will start like expanding and like releasing more nerve fibers and things. Like, it's almost like a tube of toothpaste that's being squeezed from the bottom, and it works its way up, right? And if you have like back problems and things, it can get stuck in certain spot problems, and it can cause like major health issues. So and a lot of pain. So that's basically my Kundalini in a nutshell description. Artemis says, yeah, for real, how can I love more moderate when I'm surrounded by everyone trying to get ahead and just buying and selling more stuff? It's like a way of life around here. Yeah, but you know what I'm saying? Sometimes you got to embody the change that you want to see in other people. Like a good way of, it's like it's a big trap. Everyone wants to try to outstunt each other. And they end up going broke trying to act rich. You know what I'm saying? In that sense, like, those kind of circles are really just all dragging each other down, and it won't be instantaneous, and you also got to remember, you don't got to explain yourself to nobody. You can just literally be the change that you want to see in others, and remember that it's like I explained earlier, you can have like a bunch of small win, but if you're just headed towards a crash, what's the overall outcome? You got to take the average, right? So if you go the other route, where you're focusing only on passive income, you're keeping all your time, you're working on your physical health, your mental health, and all that, right? Then you're taking a bunch of small losses, but eventually you're coming with that big win. And then what's the eventual outcome? You end up here and they end up down here. But it might take years, it might take months, it might take, decades, whatever, for all this to play out. Not to say that you're in competition with anyone else, but the reason why that matters is because in the end, if they're paying attention, they'll see how you did it, or maybe they'll even ask you how you did it, and you'll be able to tell them, be like, okay, well, I was on YouTube one day, and this you know, ex-actor turned, uh, you know, wild man told me this little thing, and, you know, I stuck my back against the wall and I started focusing on my mental health, my physical health, and my passive income. And, um, you know, remember also too, like when it comes to like passive income, like go get on that compound interest calculator and like start realizing what a little bit of money does when it starts compounding interest over the long term. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't really take much to make a lot as long as that money is working 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and always, you know what I'm saying, just compounding on itself because you found out that you could live off of your most healthiest and inexpensive life by just eating some fruits and vegetables and, you know, doing yoga, stretching, working out, doing, not even at the gym, out in the open air, breathing air, you know what I'm saying, make the most of the oxygen, learning to breathe a little deeper, spending more time in nature, taking your shoes off, touching the ground, you know, um, going for a swim in the ocean, yada, yada, yada. Um, and, you know, the end result is peace. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, I mean, it's the truth is that almost everybody is falling into the trap of slavery because they're trying to make money to buy things to impress other people, which most of those people they're trying to impress are people they don't even probably like that much. Um, and almost none of it are they really doing for themselves. Like, how much of that shit really makes you happy? You know what I'm saying? Like, it makes you happy to have the nice car and the this and then and the that because it impresses people. But it's so liberating to suddenly realize that the only person you need to impress is yourself. You know what I'm saying? Like, um, and what impresses the self the most is having time and health. And, you know, the years go by and, you know, most people just fall apart. You know what I'm saying? Because they overwork themselves and they want to go out and eat the fancy meals and this and the other. But, you know, let me tell you something about fancy meals. Doesn't mean that the ingredients are good. You know what I'm saying? A lot of that shit's all just GMO, covered in pesticides, covered in oils with hexane inside of them. You know what I mean? Like, you know, they care about making it taste good and look nice. They don't really care about the health aspect of it. You know what I mean? So, um, it's just taking a different approach to life and thinking about things a little differently. That's all. Joshua Love says, "Don't listen to any negativity, brother. Thank you much for your wisdom and insight. Much love. And much love to you as well. Trust me, it doesn't, I've been doing this for a while. There ain't much they can tell me." Suarez says, "I started from like 17 when I got my own personal phone and I'm 20 now." Well, um, you know, um, what you know what I mean? Then you must have liked to do some things in your life before you were 17. Like, what'd you do from the age of, you know, 5 to 16 that you enjoyed? Like, get back to that. You know what I mean? Forget about the device. You've been addicted to it for 3 years. Like, come on, you can't just roll over for the man now. You know what I mean? Get back to what you used to like to do. Go play with some bugs. Go swimming. Go play soccer. Whatever you were into. You know what I mean? Play some chess. Whatever. Greg Felix says, "Where do you live?" I live in Costa Rica. BB Bean says to Swarg, "I'm going to come at this differently. Apps and social media are specifically made to be addictive. You need to delete the apps you spend too much time on. Cold turkey is the fastest way." Yeah, I mean, they got the whole screen time thing to show you what you're spending your time doing. Um, so, um, you know, shouldn't be too hard. The Rambler says, "Bro looks like the first human ever created." You know, and when I read a comment like that, I skip over most of the caveman comments and things, but when you say the very first human ever created, so you're like basically saying like Adam, right? So I kind of wonder if it's a compliment or a diss, right? Because, it seems like we were doing quite well before the original sin, right? Is this AI? Nope, not AI. I also don't know if this is a diss or a compliment either. Viva Costa Rica. I'm doing good, peekaboo. What's the make and model of my dog? 80% American Bully, 20% English Bulldog. Greg Felix says, "You are handsome like Tarzan." Well, thank you so much. Tarzan, cool. Anthony Davis and Tarzan, baby. I don't know who Anthony Davis is, but it's funny. Um, where have I seen this guy? You see me somewhere. I've been around. Isn't that crazy to think, like, people come on here and just comment about my eyebrows and my Paleolithic look. Meanwhile, they don't even realize that, like something like somewhere between like an eighth and a sixth of the human population has watched me have sex. Can you believe that? And enjoyed it. And then they act like I don't know how to pluck my eyebrows. Like it's an accident or something, right? So funny. Possessions end up owning you, and then exactly. Just remember, you came with nothing, you're going to leave with nothing. So work on the things that you can take with you. You know what I'm saying? Which is basically your karma. That's it. It's all you got is your karma. You ain't taking nothing else except your soul. And how much is your soul worth? It's all based upon karma. That's it. Put the money in the pocket. Let it grow. Let it grow. Compound interest calculator. Just go play .com or whatever. Go Google it. Fucking, it's mind-boggling. Relic Invictus says, "We now live in a world where the phrase 'picks' or 'it didn't happen' will not fulfill itself." Amen. Isn't that crazy? What's really crazy is that people actually think this is new technology. They don't realize that their entire lives and their parents' entire lives, the the powers that be, the government and whatnot, has always had deep fake technology. They've always been able to completely and totally realistically fake pictures and video ever since like the printing press. There has never been a moment in time when the screen technology was more advanced than the ability to fake video and pictures technology. You know what I mean? It's always existed forever. It's just that now there's so many cameras everywhere and there's so much weird fucking footage of fucking horrible things that people have fucking done who are in power floating around on the internet that's real, right? That they had to fucking release their most greatest weapon to the general population just to sow doubt, right? So that when you do see something that's real, you just go, must be AI. Might be AI, probably not real. Fucking AI, right? But they had it the whole time. It's crazy. And then people are still addicted to their phones. Why are you addicted to your phone and you don't even know what's real and what's not? Fuck, I'm talking here on live to people and they're asking me if it's AI. Why the fuck even use a phone at all then? You can't even believe live? You know what I'm saying? From a guy looking like this? What the fuck? Who the fuck is AIing me? Old school grandma says, I'm 61 years and my doctor said my discs are deteriorating in my lower back. It is painful. But could I do yoga to try helping it? You're going to have to use some discernment there. I'm not a doctor and I can't give medical advice. If it was me personally, that's exactly what I would try. Yoga doesn't have to be that intense. You know, like one of the most powerful yoga poses, which is really good for meditation and things, is called, and don't take this the wrong way, but it's called the corpse pose. And it's literally just laying flat on your back with your ankles, your feet pointed straight up, ankles equal with your shoulders, and your hands just flat on the ground. Right? Very easy pose. And you just let your body just sink completely into the earth, right? On a firm surface, not necessarily completely hard, but a firm surface, like a thin yoga mat, maybe on some carpet or something. Not too much padding though, because it'll throw your spine out of thing. And just start with that. If you feel through your own discernment that it's something you could handle, and just meditate on feeling your spine. And I'll tell you, like when I had my Kundalini awakening, like it pretty much like de-aged me like 10 years. Like I couldn't even fucking believe it. I slept for 36 hours afterwards and woke up and looked in the mirror and I couldn't even fucking recognize myself. My eyebrows had grown, my hair had grown, like my skin was completely different. Like it just, my eyes lifted up, like insane, like instant healing. It's real and it's possible. You know what I mean? But you have to come into it in a total state of surrender, you know? And if you want, I would highly suggest learning to chant. The power of vibration is super powerful. You know what I mean? What did it for me is this sound. Spending like an hour or two a day doing just that, chanting that sound over and over again. The silence at the end is very important. See what that does for you, and then come talk to me, old school grandma. Chirag says, hello Bruce, you're looking younger. Thank you, Chirag. Appreciate you. Old school grandma says she doesn't want to go on pain meds. And try some meditation. You know, if you drink coffee, I know it's a really hard addiction to give up any kind of caffeine. Start making some, it's never too late to make some positive life changes. You might be really sleepy all the time, but when you first quit for like maybe even a month or two, but you can do it. You know what I mean? Why keep the unibrow? Somebody asked. Costa Rica is nice. I went there and they have some crazy foods there. They do. They're real good. Why keep the unibrow? That's a good question. Because I can. Because I don't give. It's how I was created. I plucked it for a long time, and I think it's very effeminate to be plucking your eyebrows. It's kind of like bending the knee. You know what I mean? You know, and you know, it's something that people only care about it because of a certain level of indoctrination. The kind of people that are focused on eyebrows are like as like some kind of source of importance. The plucking of the eyebrows is so important to them. It's really like some of the like lowest kind of person, you know what I'm saying, mentally. Now it doesn't mean that they can't change. It's not like they're stuck like that forever. You know what I mean? But you know, it speaks of indoctrination. You know what I'm saying? And a certain level of, you know, it's kind of like a limp wrist kind of a thing. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know. This is the way I was created. You know, not, and besides, how many people can actually grow a unibrow like this? It's thick. Goes all the way through. That's good. Yeah, I just ate my very first sour sop yesterday. It was so good. I love that. They do have some cool fruits here. Old school, look up some stuff about natural ways to help your back and disc and try it. Yeah, definitely. Holistic healing. You got to be your own. You got to be, I mean, like, I'm not a medical professional. Nothing I say is intended as health advice, but you got to be your own doctor. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's really, the truth is that the medical industry just wants to make money. If they can put you on pills, they'll put you on pills. If they can keep you coming back to see them on the regular so they can collect their insurance money from the government that they're way overcharging for, like, they'll do that. They have no desire to heal you. They have no desire for your pain to go away. They want to make money. You know what I'm saying? The only person that truly, the one person that cares the most about your health and wants you to feel better and wants your discs to heal and so on and so forth is you. You know what I'm saying? And the thing about, you know, cartilage and those discs and stuff is that they don't have good circulation because they're not, you know, they don't have blood flow the way other parts of the body do. So it's a little harder to heal it. And the only way to get the cells that you need and stuff into it is through movement. You have to do movement, right? And so things like certain types of yoga and so on and so forth, gentle turning and whatever, you know, they'll tell you that it's going to wear it out. But if you're doing it with discernment in a certain type of way, you can get the cells that you need to it. The other thing too is, and again, you have to use discernment. You got to know yourself. You got to be in touch with your body. But like, it's a known fact that your body starts to produce stem cells when you're in a fasted state. So look into fasting and dry fasting and so on and so forth. You need to be really hydrated when you're not in the fast. But if you're in a state there where you can get yourself into a deeper fast, your body will start producing stem cells, and then you just have to get the stem cells to the area that you want to heal, which means